Well, good morning from Hong Kong. Here we are. Things are coming together. I've got the MPPT. I have all this in. I've also installed the Watts View monitor. That's in there. So what comes in from my array will be monitored before it goes to the TriStar, and the TriStar is also going to monitor it. And we've got the remote hub, plus I have my data logging, and I still have to connect my RS-232 to RS-485, or now it's called EIA-485. I've got my power supply. It's up here. Now I've also installed my disconnects. So that's on. This is my disconnect for my two dump loads. So until I get the wind turbines, this one is going to be off, and so then this will just keep going. I just need to drill my holes because I've got my ground. Everything is grounded inside. I have my ground here. This is my neutral, my negative line, and this is my positive line. So positive is going to come down, and again we're going to use 95 mm square, and again we're going to continue with the 16 mm. I might go 25 off of this. Depends on, again, it's cost of wire. So the other wires I have to run down, this is the serial for the Watts View to communicate with the computer. This is my remote temperature sensor. Now again, because the MPPT is going to communicate with these as well, so from my reading, I only need the one remote temperature sensor, because then these will get that same information through the system off of this remote temperature sensor. This right here is my Ethernet connection. So I've got this is the one IP address that I get all this information from for the data logging. So that's going to go right to my router. And this right here is the remote temperature, or the Morningstar remote meter. This has that one panel. So I've got to run these 4 wires down. I've got to get these down to the battery, and I have to just ground that. Other than that, it's pretty much the majority of the hardware is in, and everything's kind of tucked behind the wall. It looks nice and clean, and pretty soon the other thing is I have to go and set my dip switches. That's the other, because setting my dip switches is always the last thing I ever do on setting up the system. My voltage, it's, the cutoffs and everything, and then here for the dump load, setting them in dump load, because these can be a load controller, a dump load controller, and a PWM charge controller. So again, I know, like on a load control, you would always want to have this diode where it takes, if on an inductive motor, if you get a high voltage spike that would come in, it would feed it right back through, and it protects this equipment, and Morningstar's lightning protection. It's a bit of overkill, but I just have it because you just don't know. And when you're on the boat and you're cruising, and something happens, I don't have a personal Jesus that's going to come and rescue me. So I would rather have too much kit than not enough. So then my voltage here, I've got the voltage only is going to come up here. So again, that'll run up through here. Voltage only to my voltage sensors. And then the next one is, again, carries current. So that powers this. And it also powers 24 volt up to my my Watts app. And again, all my serial soldering that I've done on the new fittings, they fit very, very nicely. They fit in really nice. There we go. There's There's my little reset button. So, but they're sitting in there nice. It's going to look very nice and clean. Now I just have to start drilling some holes down below and clean up my mess. I still have some sawdust floating around. But there will be a cap over the top of this, cap over that, and cap over that. And I'm also going to bend, I'm just going to heat up some clear plexiglass here. And again, I'm going to put a little cap over the top of that so nobody can put their fingers in it. But it's going to have the cabinet over it. So, but everything is properly crimped. And again, all the wires that I use welding wire. It's wire for welders, and it's kind of fine, and I've always was told that DC wire, DC current on a wire. Say if this is one wire that's in here, DC travels on the outside of each conductor here. Whereas AC will run through the center, and that's why you can use a solid core wire on AC, because it travels through the center of the wire. So again, that's why I use the welding wire. Seems to have the lowest amount of resistance and loss, and it seems to do the best job for me. And again, I've got extra insulation in that, but this here is 35 mm square. That we used up here. So that is, I measured it fairly well, and so I've got about, that's about 12 inches on that, but that's all I have left. So, but now everything is crimped, and that's another important thing that I don't think people do. I see on YouTube, I see a lot of stuff where people will take a flathead screwdriver. They'll take a flathead screwdriver, and they'll put it on a surface, and then say if this is your fitting, and then they'll go and then they'll hammer it, and like that's going to be a good crimp. Well, do you really trust that? I mean, we're talking about electricity. To me, you cannot put a price on safety and efficiency when you're living off the grid. I mean, I've invested. This one goes from 1.5 down to up to 16 mm square. Gives me a proper crimp. You know, when you buy these, people will take regular copper plumbing, soft copper, and they'll make their own. That's just wrong. I think I totally disagree. It's that copper pipe was made for plumbing, not for electrical. And I know, because copper, you've got certain grades of copper. And now here's the beast. Now like with this one, with this crimper is for my larger, because I'm going to be doing the 95 mm square. Now this I can adjust, the different size wires. I put the mammoth behemoth in here, and I don't mind the manual. I don't need the hydraulic or the screw and all that stuff. This works fine, and it was cheap. This was, I don't think I paid $60 US for that. And it does the job, and it does it properly. And I think that's the important thing when you're putting on any of your fittings, is to make sure that your fittings are crimped on properly. Oh, that's the other thing I did install. I've got the 60 amp A&L fuse. 60 amp is in there. And that one's made in Mexico. Here I am in China, and I'm putting in a fuse made in Mexico. But overall, guys, it's Sunday here. It's Sunday. I've got some other things I'm going to tend to, and I think I'm going to go and enjoy the day. The sun was out, but it's not sunny anymore. But I think it's time, because all work and no play makes Alan a dull boy. So I think I'm at a point where I'm going to go take a break and go enjoy the Sunday afternoon, because I'm in a good place. But it looks good. I like it. It's pretty tidy, just the way that I want it. I've got my disconnects where I want. I've got the data. I sent off an email to Morningstar, because these RS-232 to RS-485, the pinouts, because just on the Morningstar, you've got your voltage and your ground, and you just got, it says data A and data B. One has to be receive and one has to be transmit, and so I'm going to wait for them, but that's why I haven't really connected it, because I have an outstanding question with them to do so. I've talked to a few other people, and everybody goes, "Oh no, Alan, you've got the serial to Ethernet. Just connect each and every one of those to Ethernet." Well, from my understanding is you have to go and log on when you're on the computer, and being on a Mac, since I'm on a Mac, I have to go to a web address, a web page. So I could probably set it up in there and be a pain, but I would rather just type in one IP address and have everything go through one Morningstar MPPT controller to get all the data. So I think I've made a good choice. I've tried to make the right choices on it, and again, safety and using the right equipment is a must. When you're doing things off-grid and you're playing with power, the DIY is wonderful, but don't do it on a budget. Do it the right way. If you're doing it on a budget, then wait till till your next salary comes in to go and buy that tool, that crimper. Borrow one from a friend. Budgets are designed for saving up for holidays and vacations and Christmas presents for the kids, but it shouldn't endanger causing a fire because you want to save a couple bucks on making a cable lug or a cable fitting from copper pipe that's intended for plumbing. That's just not what that was intended for. But that's my 2 cents on that. But overall, guys, I'm pretty happy with this last week's productivity. Getting my charge controller box in. I still have to run the wires for the dump loads down. Again, that'll be 35 mm square as well. But I'll run that wire up when I run the 95 mm square wire down for the positive and the negative, plus the grounding wire. So there's always still something to do, but I've got a control center. Everything at one place. All right, you guys have a good Sunday. Be good, be safe, be well. Bye-bye.